All right, how's everybody doing today? Thank you all for taking the time to join to go through iSELECT. I am our Eastern United States rep. Most of you probably know Chuck. He is my brother, if you notice the last name. I think we have two of you here from Michigan, and the rest of you, I believe, are from California, US Air, I believe. So you guys have Lido as your rep out there now. But you can always feel free to contact any one of us when you need something. If you're not familiar with everything we do, iAir builds air conditioning equipment across residential, commercial, and industrial. Our main product being our outside air unit, which is what a lot of you will be working with and building within iSELECT. And then we have a lot of other product offerings to go along with that. We build custom ERVs. And iSELECT is a nice tool for you to be able to go in, put your parameters of your job in, and it gives you selections and gives you your pricing. And it makes quoting jobs a lot easier because you have the flexibility of doing it yourself rather than every time you get one, call iAir or call your rep and say, hey, can you bid this for me? And then you can get right in there and you can do it yourself. And once you get comfortable with it, it actually makes things move along a lot faster for you, and gives you the flexibility to go in and adjust. If your customer adds an option, you don't have to call us and say, okay, now they want to add this. You can just pop right in there, add that option. It gives you your pricing again, gives you a submittal that you can print out and have your quote and your submittal right in front of you. So we'll get to all of that. Let me share my screen. So if you go to your web browser and you type in www.myiair.com, that will bring you to our website. So what you have here on our home screen, you can check our products, different benefits of the products, our service and support areas. Everything's right here for you. You will have customers in the future who are ready for startups, and they're going to ask how they do that. You're going to come here, and this is where you find everything. You'll come down to service request, and you'll go through the little prompts, and you'll be able to give them everything they need. And for those of you who are not on iSELECT, this is where you will go to get started with iSELECT. But real quick, what you're seeing on the screen there is the outside of our facility in Orlando, which we have just recently moved out of. The new address up at the top there, you see Kissimmee, Florida. We moved from roughly 25,000 square feet to a little under 70,000 square feet. We got ourselves a brand new facility. It's much larger. There's a lot more room inside and out. We've added a lot more area for production. And if anybody's ever in the area and they want to see it, or you ever want to do a tour with a customer, you just reach out and we'll make it happen. So for those of you who are not in iSELECT yet, you would come up here and click on Get iSELECT Quote. What you'll get is some prompts to put in a username and a password, fill out a couple of things, and submit it. And then that will go straight to the administrators, which are Erica, myself, Chuck, and Lido on the West Coast. We'll get that, we'll approve it, and then you will be ready for use in iSELECT. Once you're in there, this will be a similar screen that you will see. It's not exactly the same because I see everything throughout the company. I see every customer. You will only see your stuff for your company. Once you're at this home page, you'll hit add a project. And this will be the very first page you'll see, where you have to put some basic information in regarding your job that you're working on and your company. So for the purpose of this right now, we will put test for York JCI. And our company name, when you go through this, you'll find your company name when you're doing this. We're going to go with IR, customer name. You will find your name when you are active in iSELECT. So I'm going to put mine, country US, state, we'll just go Florida since that's where we're based. And we'll just hit Fort Lauderdale. That, when you're putting in the country, state, and location, that is so iSELECT can pull ASHRAE data, which you will see when we get to the next page, for temperatures. And then basis of design, we will go down here and we will pick York. Now you can add an engineer's name if there's an engineer on that you're dealing with, or an engineer on the print that you're working on. And it's always nice to have that in there for reference purposes. So when you know the engineer that you're working with, go ahead and put it in there. You have a section to put comments if there's something that somebody else might need to know if they're going to go in and look at the same job. Notes for the project. You have those spaces to add that. Now, once you have this basic information loaded in, you're going to hit add. And it's going to bring you to your very first page that you're dealing with as far as building your system. So everybody should be seeing this first page here with the header of test for York JCI and that basic information that I put in regarding the job. Once you get to this point, you're either going to choose modification or add new unit. So what we do is we either build full units for you, your full DOAS units or ERVs or whatever the type of system is, a VAV system, or we do individual modifications. If you have a unit that you need to ship us and have, say, double wall added to it, that's where you would go to this section first. You would hit add modification. You'll see this page and you are going to come in here, pick your brand, which when you're in there under your company, you won't see all those different brands. I see them because I deal with all the different brands, where you're just going to see what you're dealing with. So you would have York there. And then you're going to pick whether it's a rooftop or a split, your voltage, all the parameters you need for that unit that you're dealing with. And then you're going to hit this drop down, and it's going to give you options based on the parameters that you put in. Then once you pick one, it's going to load all the different modifications that you can pick. And it starts right from the basic unit construction, whether you want coatings on coils, coatings on the entire unit, whatever it is that your parameters may need. We have our on-off hot gas reheat, capacity control, VFDs. We have an electrical section, modulated gas valve if you need that. And you can scroll down and see all the different mods that we offer. So let's say we just want to pick a capacity control device. Basically, a lot of people call it a raw valve, which is just a brand, but that's basically what a capacity control device is. Then you come down here, you hit submit. You can put your unit tag in. We'll just call it RTU1. And then you have to pick a shipping destination as to where we're going to ship it when we're done. So we'll say California, since a lot of you on here are from California. Hit add, and now it gives you your pricing with freight, your lead time, and what modification you picked. And then you can hit this little drop down right here, and you can grab yourself a submittal so you can actually see what you've got and what you're getting, all the parameters that you had picked, the modification you picked, then a brief description of that modification. And now you've got yourself a finished submittal for your customer. And you've got your pricing. And up here, you can do the same thing. You can get submittal and you can get your quote up at the top. So that's how modifications work on there. Does anybody have any questions about that portion? Okay. So let's go to add a new unit. Well, you guys are going to be dealing with MagnaDry, which is our DOAS build of a York unit. We call it MagnaDry. You probably saw real quick there that I had some other options. That is for other brands. You guys won't see that. When you go in, you will only see what you're dealing with York. So you will see the MagnaDry option immediately. So this is the first of 3 pages that you will deal with when you are building a system in iSELECT. And right here at the top in the first box, you're going to deal with your unit, which is a MagnaDry. Then you're going to deal with the unit type, which we have multiple to choose from, whether it's just a cooling rooftop, a gas unit rooftop, heat pump rooftop, hot water rooftop. Then you have your split system options, cooling only heat pump, and then water source heat pump. So you will pick which one you are dealing with. We'll leave it at package cooling only. Then you're going to pick your voltage, which you have all the voltages you need available to pick from. You can pick your static pressure of whatever the job requirements may be, which the default in here is just 0.5. I know more often than not, probably get around 1. And then right here, you can pick, it's already defaulted to 100% outside air, or if your unit is not 100% outside air, you click off of that, and then it gives you this module over here, which you'll see when we move down to where you can add in return air versus outside air. So depending on what your build parameters are, you're going to put your airflows in, which we'll just say we're going to do a 50-50 build 2,000 CFM of outside, 2,000 CFM of return air. And then you remember when we put in the original project information, we had to pick a state and then a city. That was for this, so it could pick ASHRAE data based on the area where the unit's going to sit. Now you can tweak that. It doesn't have to stay. You can tweak it if your requirements are a little bit different on the print you're dealing with. So those are tweakable. Then down here, it'll give you your mixed air. So you've got your outside air, you've got your return air, and then it calculates your mixed air for you. So we got 4,000 CFM, and then we have our mixed ratio of the 92 and 75. So we're at 83 degree air that's hitting our coil. And then this module right here is what we're asking for leaving conditions. So 55 being the standard dehumidified air. And then you hit show possible units, and it gives you a multitude of selections to look at based on what it's giving you as far as leaving air temperatures. Now, the way you can tweak that a little bit more, which I almost do on every build I create, is right here where it defaults to the 55, 54.8. Not every job requires that you have to be at exactly 55 or less, but because it defaults to 55, it's only going to give you selections down here that are 55 or less leaving air. So you see the one we've got with the highest leaving air is only at 52 right here. But if we tweak this up here a little bit and say 57 and 56.9 rather than 55, 54.9, then hit possible units again. And now we're getting a selection, see here, of 55.2 or 55.4. So now we're hitting good design conditions, but we're doing it with a smaller unit. This 17.5 ton wasn't a selection before because of that 0.2, which I'm sure any engineer you're dealing with, if they were asking for 55 degrees, 55.2 would be just fine with them. Whereas before, because this default right here was at 55, we weren't getting those selections. So that's just a little caveat of iSELECT that you'll learn over time, but now that you know it, when you go in and build a unit, just go ahead and tweak that right off the bat over here. Just go ahead and put it at 57, 56.9 before you even ask for units. And that way, you will see all the selections that you're actually probably looking for without going back and changing it. So now we've got our units that are giving us that 55 degree air. We know where we need to be there. Now, depending if you need to add an ERV to this job, one nice feature we have, you can click on that. And right here, it populates a new square that gives you the opportunity to put an ERV on the job if you need it. You can hit select ERV, and it will give you your options as to which ERVs you can choose. So now, based on temperatures and what you're actually looking for, you have multiple choices from a 30-inch wheel all the way to a 46-inch wheel. And if you look, I always point this out to everybody. You don't always have to go with an enormous wheel. If you look at the difference, you've got a 30-inch wheel to a 46-inch wheel, and you're only looking at a 3-degree difference. So a lot of times you can get away with a more cost-effective, smaller ERV than what you might think. So we can pick this one right here, and it's going to populate it right there. And now it's part of our job. So that's the first screen, 1 out of 3 screens you're going to deal with. Okay. Then what you're going to do, once you've filled this complete screen out and you're happy with the selections you've got, you're going to hit next. Second screen is your options screen, depending on what your unit may need. You have all of these options down the left-hand side that you can choose from. A lot of times we'll need a stainless steel drain pan. A lot of times we need back net, depending on what your job situation is, if it's a school system or, you know, someone that's controlling from a front end. Smoke detectors, sometimes they're supplied by the contractor, sometimes they are supplied in the build. Then down the right side, you have options for corrosion, for coil coatings, which I know when we're right on the coast, you know, California or over here in Florida, we get calls for that a lot. So maybe this one, they want all the coils coated. Then we have options for whether you want a powered or non-powered outlet. You have a split power option if you ever need that, which, I mean, it's rare, but it does happen. We have, and you'll notice I am skipping this one for the moment. I'm going to come back to control type. Heating control, it defaults to modulated heat. So if there's no heat in the unit, you're going to want to change it to staged heat, so you're not paying for something you don't need. And then disconnect, whether you want a fused or switched disconnect. Now I'll come back here to control type. This is where you are going to pick how you are controlling the unit. And when we talk control type, you know, to someone who doesn't deal with a lot of different control types, they're just thinking, okay, well, you know, it's a thermostat. Well, yes and no. There's a lot of different controls. And a lot of people will look at these and say, okay, well, I want discharge air temperature. Simple. We're controlling the discharge air temperature. Okay, well, it's simple and it's not simple. All iAir units are controlled to discharge air temperature. Always. Every unit we build, we control by discharge air temperature. The question is, what are we controlling to? What are we controlling that discharge air temperature to? Are we controlling it to a sensor in the ductwork? Are we controlling it to a remote sensor on a wall? Are we controlling it to a thermostat? That's where you get into these different control flavors as to which one you want to pick and which one you're going to use. For this one, just going to go with discharge air temperature, which means it's going to control to a sensor in the duct. And then down here, you can pick options for the ERV, since we had an ERV on this particular job. So for this one, we will just pick outside air blower on this one, just for the sake of picking an option. And then we head to our last page. And our very last page is pretty simple. You're picking the configuration of the unit, whether it be vertical, vertical, horizontal, horizontal, or whether you have a horizontal return, a vertical supply, you have your options. A lot of rooftops are vertical, so we'll leave it there. And then if you have a minimum or maximum desired fan, you can put it in. Otherwise, it just will pick anywhere from standard to extra high static, depending on what the unit needs. So in this case now, our possible units, we can get down to 55 degrees with our smallest unit here of a 17.5 ton with a medium static fan. This is where you actually pick the unit. So if you've decided this is the unit I want for this build, we hit the little plus sign, we give it our unit tag, and we hit add. Now, once it's added, which it shows you the little green bar there that it's added to the list, you scroll back up here to the top and just hit the job name. Now you're back at your screen that shows you the couple units we had added modifications to, and now it shows us this unit that we built within iSELECT. Right over here under Actions, to your far right, you have a drop-down arrow for each selection. You hit your drop-down arrow and hit Duplicate Unit. Now you have a copy of it immediately directly underneath it. Now what you can do is go to the copy, go back to your drop-down arrow, and hit Edit Unit. Now it's got all the parameters in there that we had already set. But now you could say, go over here and say, okay, I want to take off back net and the stainless steel drain pan, but I want to add hail guards. And then you can hit next, hit possible units. And it'll give you your selections again. Then you select, we're going to leave it as copy, hit update, come back to the top of the screen and hit our job name. And now here's that unit. Now, once you have this screen, if you're happy with everything that's on the screen and you've gotten to the point where they're the units you want and the modifications you want, right here at the top of the screen, you can get yourself a printed out quote with everything that you had picked. Your total at the bottom. And then you can also get yourself a fully printable submittal. And then this job's saved in iSELECT. So a week later, if somebody says, hey, that job we were working on, I need to add this option to it. You can go right back into this job, go right back over to the drop down that we talked about, hit Edit Unit, go to your second screen, and change the options again. Or add an option if they changed it on you. So you have the versatility of working on it and changing it anytime you like. And then it'll always update your quote and your submittal for you. iSELECT is always evolving, always changing. As the government changes things, we are always adding more in. But if you do run across a situation where it is not in there, reach out to your rep or sales at iAir. That's how we like everything to filter, is actually through the sales email. Which then filters to all of us in sales. But if you need to reach out to, say, me directly, like on your side, I'm your rep, and then on the West Coast, Lido is the rep. But you can reach out to any one of us. If you have a spec or a print, that's beautiful, and we will take care of putting it together for you. All right. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to go through this. And if you decide you do have any questions at a later date or need some help running through it once you get signed up, for those of you who are not, please feel free to reach out. We are happy to help, whether it be myself, whether it be Lita, whether it be Chuck, whether it be Erica. Any one of us is happy to help in any way you need. So again, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Erica, if you're still with us.
Yep, I'm still here. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody, for joining. If you do ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach us at sales@myiair.com or give us a call. Our number is 407-480-5120. I'm at extension 102. So thank you all for joining. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help, and have a wonderful rest of your day.